So a lot of YouTube gurus have been feeding you the same recycled lies for years. And I used to buy into it too. I used to obsess over my click-through rate. I used to consistently post at the same time every week. I used to cram my face into every YouTube thumbnail I made and 1,000 other things. And you know what happened? Nothing. Like an embarrassing amount of nothing. And so now that I'm fortunate enough to be on the other side, I've realized a lot of the advice these gurus preach is outdated, misleading, or just plain dumb. So let's go over 10 massive YouTube lies keeping your small channel stuck tighter than stepsis in that washing machine. So, the first big lie. YouTube gurus love screaming about
your click-through rate, your average view duration. Increase these metrics, you'll get a ton of views.
Which all makes perfect sense until you post a video that has a high click-through rate and a high average view duration and it doesn't get any views. For example, here's a real small channel with one video that has over a 16.7% click-through rate. Sounds pretty high, right? Well, that video got 67 views. Meanwhile, another video on that exact same channel has a click-through rate of just 8.7% and yet has over 3,000 views. And to make things even more confusing, our 67 view video has an average view duration, so how long people watch the video for, of 2 minutes and 30 seconds, while our 3,000 view video has an average view duration of 1 minute and 39 seconds. In other words, the video with the lower click-through rate and the lower average view duration has 40 times more views. How is this possible when YouTube gurus keep telling you a high click-through rate and average view duration is the secret to getting millions of views? Well, let me jump over to my very high-tech studio and show you. So let's say you post your first video here. Now, YouTube first is going to predict and test this video with a small audience of people. Let's say it's 1,000 people who've already subscribed to you or watched some of your videos in the past. And fortunately for you, this new video resonates really well with this initial 1,000 people. 15% of them click, that's your click-through rate, meaning 15% of 1,000, you get 150 views. But this is where things now get a bit complicated because YouTube now promotes your video to a larger audience of, let's say, 100,000 people. But it's not going to give your video to all 100,000 people initially. It's going to start by testing with a small segment of that audience. Let's say it's like 100 people. And this is where things go to hell for your new video. See, let's say only 2% of this test 100 viewer segment actually click on your video. So that's 2 more views for you. But because the response to your video is so terrible, so few people clicked on it, YouTube's like, nope, and stops promoting that video entirely. The video dies. And so your final stats for this video are you got 1,100 total impressions. That's how many people the algorithm showed your video to. From those impressions, you got 152 views. And so your click-through rate ends up being about 13.8%. Sounds like a great click-through rate on paper, but in reality, you're stuck at 152 views and the algorithm is ghosting you harder than your last Tinder match. So now let's look at a different scenario, second video. So same process occurs. Let's say you get your initial test 1,000 viewers, 15% of them click, you get 150 views. But now when you test it with a larger audience, instead of just 2% clicking like your last failed video, 7% click. And let's say YouTube sees this as a really positive response. It's like, okay, this video is good, it's working. And so gradually it ends up promoting this video to more and more people until it promotes it to all 100,000 people in this new audience. And at a 7% click-through rate, that means this new audience has generated you about an extra 7,000 views. And this process might continue, but right now, our second video here has 101,000 total impressions. It's the initial test 1,000 plus the larger, broader 100,000 audience here. From those impressions, you've generated 7,150 views, meaning your click-through rate's sitting at around 7%. So on paper, your second video looks worse. Your click-through rate stat is lower than your first video, but that's just because it was shown to this broader audience. In reality, your second video is more clickable and it's gotten 47 times more views. So in summary, a high click-through rate or average view duration are like your weird uncle's jokes. They're hard to get, and when you do get them, they're not nearly as good as you thought they would be. Yes, it's true that you want people to click on and watch your video at a high rate. That is what the algorithm rewards. But your click-through rate analytics in your dashboard or your average view duration analytics don't necessarily tell that full story. And so now you're probably thinking,
okay, nerd, tell me what the full story is.
And my answer would be, look, if you're a small creator, you're feeling overwhelmed with all of this, just keep it simple, just focus on views. If you're getting people to click on and watch your videos at a high enough rate, you're gonna get more views. Use how many views you get as your ultimate analytic or metric to track your success. But that's been just one of the big YouTube lies gurus would have you believe. You just wait till we make a Big Mac out of this next sacred cow. Post at the same time every week and the algorithm will reward you. This guru really needs speech pathology. Look, this is one of the most persistent myths in the YouTube education space, and it drives me crazy. Now, sure, having a rough posting schedule can be helpful. If you disappear for weeks or months on end, your viewers will forget about you faster than they forgot about Google+. But there's a massive difference between generally posting regularly and this obsession with posting consistently at the exact same time on the exact same day every week and claiming that the algorithm is going to give you a boost if you do that. The algorithm is not sitting there with a calendar on its wall being like, oh look, Marcus posted another video on Thursday at exactly 3 p.m. again. Let's give him more views. No, the algorithm has better things to do, like figuring out why the hell 2.6 million people watch this video about paint drying. And look, if you're a lazy bastard, you're late, and you need deadlines to force yourself to work, then okay, a precise posting schedule might be good. But if you're not a lazy bastard and your OCD-esque schedule is causing you stress and making your videos worse, just post the video tomorrow. There are countless examples of successful channels that overall, in general, are frequent and consistent, but don't conform to a rigid, exact schedule, and they're doing just fine. The algorithm is not punishing them. Anyway, posting at the right time is far less important than getting people to click. Again, I'm not talking about your click-through rate stat analytic here, we're just talking in general, having high clickability of your video. And speaking of getting people to click, let's talk about your thumbnails. Include your face in thumbnails because humans are programmed to recognize faces. I hear this one all the time, and while it's true that there is some research that shows humans have specialized regions in our brains for facial recognition, that doesn't mean people want to see yours. But jokes aside, there are countless videos that perform incredibly well and don't have a face in them. I would even argue that those videos would have performed worse if they had had a face in them. For example, I've run multiple split tests on my channel and found that on most of my videos, you guys prefer not seeing my face in the thumbnail. So you too. Now, obviously, I'm not saying you should never put your face in a thumbnail. What I'm saying is you should only put your face in a thumbnail if it makes your thumbnail better, if it makes it more clickable. One example would be if you're trying to convey a certain emotion, faces can be really good tools for expressing and conveying emotion. Or maybe you want to use the face of a famous person you cover in a video. Or authority hacking as the strategy goes. But at the end of the day, don't clutter up a perfectly good thumbnail by squishing your face into it and just making the whole thing worse just because some guru parroted that it's a best practice. And speaking of thumbnails, another guru lie I hear all the time is your thumbnails need to include branding. Logos, your watermarks, your name, your series title. Make sure people know it's your channel, they scream. It's like, okay, but have you ever noticed that your channel name and profile picture show up next to your video almost no matter where you find it on YouTube? Look at the homepage, channel name and profile picture right there. Search page, channel name, profile picture right there. Forcing names, logos, series, watermarks, titles into your thumbnail often just makes them more cluttered and less eye-catching, meaning you get less clicks, which is bad. And sure, using some consistent elements across all your thumbnails isn't a bad thing. Maybe a similar layout, similar color scheme, similar font, etc., etc. do build a bit of recognition over time and don't hurt. But like with the last point, your primary goal is to get people to click on your damn video. Your branding comes second. And that brings me to another point where I feel like a lot of the gurus have got their priorities completely mixed up. A lot of gurus love to interview big creators or analyze big creators, tease out their strategies, and then tell you, a small channel, to do what the big creators are doing if you want to grow. Here's the problem. While those things might be useful to big creators, maybe they're not realistic or impactful enough for smaller creators to spend their time on those things. Imagine you're working a full-time job, then trying to do YouTube on the side. Maybe you can spend 10, 20 hours a week on YouTube, and then you see some guru teach you how to write viral scripts. And now you're spending 16 hours a week obsessing over your script, trying to hit all 16 points on Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. Look, I'm not saying those things don't work, but the reality is those big creators have much more time and resources than you do. They can afford to fine-tune and perfect all the little details. But often you, as a small creator with other things going on in your life, can't. As a wise sloth once said, don't ask successful people what they do now, ask them what they did when they were in your shoes to get to where they are now. That's why some of my favorite strategies revolve around studying smaller creators who were in your position not long ago and figuring out what they did to blow up. And if you think that's a novel concept, just wait until you hear about YouTube gurus and their SEO fetishes. Statistically, the majority of YouTube channels nowadays get most of their views through the algorithm recommending their content to viewers, not viewers searching for their content in the search bar. Now sure, some channels do get a significant amount of their traffic from search, predominantly education channels or how-to channels answering specific questions like how do you get views or how to fix a broken washing machine. And so the trick here is not to SEO optimize the hell out of every single video you post, it's to think about how is it most people are likely to discover this video. Is it something people are going to be searching for, or is it something they'll be recommended on their homepage. And if you have some data, have a look at your traffic source analytics, see where people are finding your video. And if the majority of people are not going to be finding your video through search, don't throw away time doing keyword research or waste valuable title real estate stuffing keywords into your title that really aren't doing anything. They don't need to be there. If anything, those keywords are probably diluting the impact of your title, making it less clickable, meaning you're going to get less views. And that reminds me, segue genius right here, of one of the most trendy YouTube guru lies that is affecting a huge amount of channels. In fact, it's the favorite advice of gurus right now, and that is just be yourself. Just be authentic, which sounds all well and good until you realize that the authentic you is about as engaging as taxes and wants to lie in bed all day. Jokes aside though, here's the problem with the authenticity advice. It often gets misinterpreted and people assume that simply being authentic is enough to capture and hold a viewer's attention. But authenticity is an ingredient, not a recipe. It's like, yes, the flour is important, but people don't want to eat a bowl of flour. On top of authenticity, there needs to be something that's objectively interesting about your X factors, your video ideas, what value you're providing to your viewers. Being authentic means being genuine in how you present your ideas. Not that your ideas magically become inherently interesting just because you authentically express them. And speaking of bad ideas, this next YouTube guru trope is a terrible one. See, small YouTubers desperately want quick wins. And gurus know this. That's why they constantly promise algorithm hacks or secret exploits. Not gonna lie, even I use the whole algorithm hack or like get heaps of views trope when creating titles or thumbnails for you guys, because I know you're gonna click on it. But in my defense, once you actually click on the video, I try to give you content that is what you need to hear, not want to hear. No, but the actual problem comes about when YouTube gurus start creating content about these so-called hacks or exploits, claiming you just upload at a certain time or flick a setting on and bam, you go viral. Here's the thing though, YouTube employs some of the smartest algorithm engineers and developers in the world. You think they're gonna let some random guru outsmart their billion-dollar algorithm with some trick he learned from Cool Guy 69? And look, it's true that occasionally YouTube does push certain things. There are certain imbalances, but from a strategic point of view, YouTube usually fixes these things pretty quickly. And if that thing was the sole driver of your growth, you're gonna go back to pretty much where you were when you started. So long story short, you're better off trying to work with YouTube and grow the way YouTube wants you to, because when you do succeed, it's gonna be far more sustainable. Unlike the next lie I want to talk about that has literally single-handedly killed many channels, particularly in the gaming niche. Have you ever seen a massive gaming channel that's just dead because the game they made videos about died? Or maybe a tech channel because the specific products they decided to specialize in sort of fell out of favor? Something gurus harp on is picking a niche. And if you're aware or in an evergreen niche, it's not bad advice. But some of you guys are in less evergreen niches, and you need to be very careful putting all of your eggs into one basket, because if that shitty Temu basket breaks, your channel breaks and dies along with it. Think of the gaming channel that specialized in just one game, and then through no fault of their own, that game died and well, their channel died as well. You always want to have an awareness of, yes, niche down, create a consistent type of content. But if you're not in an evergreen space, have an awareness of or start building your strategy towards what you're going to do if that niche starts to tank. Now, this next lie might be one of the biggest of all, and it's propagated by a gazillion make money online YouTube automation gurus. Create videos once and earn money forever while you sleep, they say. Sounds nice, and I would love it if it worked that way, but unfortunately, most videos have a lifespan. You've probably seen this in your own videos. They grow, then they flatten out. And it's not just smaller videos. Most big videos usually top out at some point too. I'll be showing some examples on screen. Thanks, editors. Obviously, I think YouTube can be an amazing business, but like almost every other real business, it's about as passive as a caffeinated toddler. The platform is constantly changing. Viewers' expectations evolve. New competitors arrive on the scene. And unless you're extremely good at finding the right people to hire to help manage these things for you, don't expect to be able to just put out videos, sit back and make money passively forever. People who say you can do that are usually just about to pitch you their online course. Speaking of imaginary concepts, another piece of YouTube guru advice I really struggle with is essentially create a detailed avatar of your ideal viewer persona and then just make videos for them. It's easy. For those who don't know, a viewer avatar in this context is essentially a fictional representation of your perfect ideal viewer. Gurus will tell you to give this imaginary person a name, an age, a job, a problem, a blood type, a social security number, and then tell you all you have to do to make viral videos is just think about what this person, your avatar, would want to watch. Which sounds logical, assuming you're able to perfectly predict what your viewer avatar would want to watch, which in my experience, most creators, myself included, are not very good at. I can hardly predict what I want to watch a week from now. So instead of guessing at what videos your imaginary best friend wants to watch, maybe do actual research. Look at what's actually working in your niche. Analyze successful videos and channels that are blowing up in your niche right now. Your target viewers tell you exactly what they want to watch through their behavior. You just need to pay attention and spot the patterns. So right now you're probably and reasonably thinking, okay, Marcus, it's all well and good for you to sit up here and criticize other people. How do you get views then? I definitely don't consider myself to be a YouTube guru, but I've been lucky enough to have a couple of things work for me. And on this channel, specifically in the video on screen, I show you what worked for me, so hopefully it can work for you too. So check it out. Oh, and quick note to whoever's face I slapped in this thumbnail, this video isn't about you. You're just there because you're more famous than I am and people know who you are. So take it as a compliment. Thanks.